with sales specifically, I know that that's been a thing of like, all right, I need to grow my sales team. And it's like, I could spend all day finding the top of the line people, but if I don't know how to do the sale, how am I going to teach other people to do the same thing? Doesn't mean I have to be an expert at it, sure, right? But again, I have to become at least enough of an expert to understand how to keep other people accountable.
Welcome back to another episode of the Mission Control Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stearns with Ascend Digital Agency. I got Diego Dante. What's up, Diego?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Listen, so dodged a bullet. You want to hear about it?
Okay.
Yeah, so as you know, I'm in Buffalo, and right now we're in Marco Island at the Roofing Process Conference. And just about the time that I left on a plane, I get a notification from my Ring doorbell, and there is snow everywhere. We got blasted.
You mean to tell me that it's not like this in Buffalo right now?
It's not quite.
Okay.
Not as nice. So it's like 70 degrees, sunny. It's actually really, really good. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for the team at Roofer. Thank you guys for helping make this happen. Guys, if you're listening and you're watching, if you need instant roof quotes, clean and pristine proposals, you need CRM solutions, or you just want to have great conversation with great people, hit the description. There's going to be a link there. You'll be happy that you did. I want to talk about leadership, Diego. Jesus. See, listen, you can't always be perfect, but you strive for progress, not perfection. Let's talk about leadership. You've got some experience in this, yeah?
I feel like I'm figuring it out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this has been one of our focuses with RoofCON is leadership development. And I've got great leaders to look up to, and I know what bad leadership looks like also. I feel like that's been more of a more of a lesson sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not a great guy to come to when it's like, hey, I need you to create this, but I am really good at taking a look at something and telling you when it ain't it. It's like, yeah, you got that's not it, and here's why, right? Yeah. Which is interesting and kind of to your point of I know what it does, what bad leadership looks like. So obviously, in working with a lot of contractors, a lot of exposure, what are some of the, I guess, biggest issues or most easily identifiable, right? Because when you're running a business, and I always say when the bullets are flying, it's really easy for things that are important to lose priority. But if somebody's focusing on how can I improve my leadership or my leadership team, what are some quick identifiable things that they could look for in order to make changes?
Yeah, so interesting. I think one of the biggest things is that we look for external solutions to the problems a lot of times.
Okay. So
we'll use marketing as an example. If I'm not able to generate enough leads or I don't have enough, I feel like I need to work on my marketing. A lot of the times it's easy to say, all right, well, that's the problem. I'm just going to go hire someone that's just going to fix all of my problems. And there are people that, like you guys, that can help with that.
Yeah.
However, there's a leadership aspect there also of, all right, what am I doing wrong in this situation? Because I'm sure you guys get a lot of people where they hire you guys and they think, all right, my problem's solved. Mm-hmm. Where there's no looking then internally and saying, what are the things I need to fix? Do I need to become educated in marketing? Do I need to put the people in place in my organization to help if I don't have the time to spend with you guys? Do I have, there's a lot of internal things that we need to fix most of the time, right? Now, sometimes it is like, hey, I can't do this. I don't have the skill set to do it, so I'm just going to hire this out, and it works. But leadership is getting other people to fulfill on your mission, right?
Yeah.
So I think the big thing there is that we don't take a serious look at developing as leaders when we are leading an organization, and we just look for other ways of fixing a problem instead of sometimes looking inwardly and saying, what am I doing wrong? Where am I screwing up? And just assuming that everyone else is the problem and that we're doing everything right.
No, and I mean, I can attest to that. I call it the pay to go away mentality. And it's not just in contract, it's in a lot of different places, business, personal. It's like, hey, I've got this issue, I want to pay you, and then I want nothing to do with it. And a lot of the times that's not going to result in having the most impact in the most positive way. If you think about it, you're treating the symptoms isn't necessarily solving the issue, and most times it's not, and it's going to prolong the point of you getting from the issue to a resolution. So if you've got a pinched nerve and you've got sciatica pain or whatever, you can treat that by eating ibuprofen, right? And maybe that subsides the pain. And that's great for the day. But then you wake up tomorrow and you've got the same fucking issue. And then the next day, and then the next day. Whereas if you go to physical therapy and you work out what issues are causing the symptoms, right? Now you can actually have a solution in perpetuity to where you're not eating ibuprofen every day. You're not compromising your liver, your stomach, and being reliant on the medicine that's treating the symptom. And that's much kind of what you're saying, right? Is figure out what the issues are. Sometimes we got to look in the mirror. I mean, hey, I don't always love looking in the mirror. I got to be honest with you. It's tough to do, but sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah, I think so. John Maxwell said everything rises and falls on leadership. That's like if you're a 7 out of 10, your team's never going to get past being a 6, right? Mm-hmm. And so it does take sometimes us looking and saying, all right, what is it? What is the thing that I need to improve on? Let me make it to, let me get to being a 9 so that way I can get my team to be an 8. Your team's never going to be above, higher than what you're doing, right? And so that could be in anything. That could be in sales, marketing. That could be in the way you're, dealing with your homeowners. That could be in any part of your business. You need to worry about. This has happened to me with sales specifically. I know that's been a thing of like, all right, I need to grow my sales team, and it's like I could spend all day finding the top of the line people, but if I don't know how to do the sale, how am I going to teach other people to do the same thing? Doesn't mean I have to be an expert at it, sure, right? But again, I have to become at least enough of an expert to understand how to keep other people accountable. I think the same thing with marketing, right? Like, I want to hire someone to do SEO. I don't know the first thing about it. I need to understand enough about it to be able to keep another person accountable there, and just to be able to get other people to fulfill on your mission.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately that's a pervasive issue is not having an understanding, because when most people reach out to us, it's like, hey, I expected this from my previous agency. I didn't get nowhere near that. I got this instead, and it's a steaming pile of shit, and they're not happy. And had they had more exposure to like conceptual understanding and what to expect, they would have been more equipped to hold them accountable and not take a year, 2 years, 3 years to get to the point where they're like, wait a second, this isn't working. So I very much agree with that point.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. What are some of the common struggles that you see within a roofing business when talking with owners that are symptoms of a need for improvement and taking a step forward in a leadership perspective?
I think high turnover is a big one.
Okay.
Yeah, if you see a lot of high turnover, it's like, all right, something, you either don't have the process in place to keep the people working, and keep the people happy, keep, all these things. I think that's the biggest, the biggest tall tale sign of, poor leadership is high turnover. Because if you've got great leadership, the people will want to stay, and the people will want to continue fulfilling on your vision.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, with the leadership thing, there's so many different things that roll up into leadership.
Yeah,
and kind of to piggyback off your point earlier, we can run a marketing campaign. We can bring you a lot of leads. You could look at it and say, this isn't working. And then, we kind of try to dial in and coach through like what we can do to improve on the marketing side, but also procedurally within a client's company. If the phone calls aren't being answered, if there's not documented follow-up, if there's not these things that are taking place, you're decreasing the likelihood that you're going to achieve the desired outcome, which is as many leads as possible, booking as many appointments as you can, and selling at the highest rate possible. But again, in the absence of that, it is a leadership thing. And maybe there's a manager in place. Maybe there's somebody running point on that facet of the business that should be doing that. But it's our job as a leader to make sure that the people that are in place are actually fulfilling their obligations. And when they're falling short, letting them know they're falling short, and then coaching them through how we get from point A to point B so that we maximize our opportunity and increase the likelihood that we're successful.
One of the things that I've started to do too is when someone's underperforming in my company, it's, have I done everything in my place to make it to where they can be the most successful that they can be? And I've had to take a good hard look at myself and the way I've trained people and all these things, and spend more time sometimes where I've been like, my first initial instinct is, all right, this person isn't working, right? And I got to get rid of this person. And instead I'll spend 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks doing more training, doing one-on-ones, doing like, hey, just let me do your job and you just sit in and watch what I'm doing. And like, we've done so much of that, and there's sometimes where the person just wasn't it. Like I didn't do a good job hiring, and that happens.
Yep.
But there's also been other times where I have one person specifically where I thought this person wasn't going to work out, and it turns out I didn't have her in the right position for her skill set. And then we ended up switching her job, just what she was doing for the company. And then she thrived at that job. And then funny enough, she ended up wanting to go back and do the job we originally hired her for. And then once she went back, it was about 18 months later, she ended up doing great at that job. But it took us actually taking an internal look at ourselves of like, hey, I didn't do a good enough job putting that person in the right place, training her, all these things. And so I think that's one of my biggest things. It's just making sure I've done everything in my power to make sure that they can be successful before I just up and let someone go.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And look, no matter how cognizant you are of these issues, no matter how aware you are of these issues, there's going to be missed opportunities. There's going to be things that you miss where you didn't do your best. And that's okay. Like, Christian, you're shooting this right now. You can attest to this. I'm not always 100% on the mark in the most proactive way, making sure that we're always doing everything that we can. I strive to be, but like, you're human, and that's okay. Which leads me into my next question. How do you balance understanding the importance of leadership and awareness, and a little awareness goes a long way? How do you balance between being accountable to yourself, to your team, and not beating the shit out of yourself consistently, when you do have an off day or when you do miss an opportunity for improvement, whether it's for yourself or for your team?
I'm probably the worst at that, to be honest with you.
If you are, I'm a close second.
Yeah, I think that kind of comes with, that just says you care, right? Because you care, you're competitive, you want to be better than the competition, but also you care a lot about your team. And I struggle with that sometimes. I want it, when things don't go well, I look at myself and I'm like, all right, here's a list of things I could have done better, right? And I think it's just part of being introspective and looking at yourself and wanting to improve. And I think if you're not doing that, it almost says that you're not trying to improve. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, man, I know it's you got a busy day today. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, brother.
Always fire. Appreciate having you. And I appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. If this would help somebody that you know, share it. If you're watching this, let me know. Drop a comment. And shout out to the team at Roofer again. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.